Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Eric Johansson, teacher and tutor at LSAT Demon. With me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of LSAT Demon and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Got an email here from Beck.
Beck says, "Good afternoon. I'm one of those non-traditional students that started thinking about going into law.
We
Hopefully
love that
these
term here,
questions
don't we?
are
Non-traditional.
simple-ish." Yeah, we don't really, I try not to ever say non-traditional because what is non-traditional? We have more students who declare their non-traditional status than don't. I mean, K through JD is what should be considered non-traditional. By the way, literally, that is the case. I mean, people used to go to night school, like law used to be only night school.
Yeah.
Somehow it morphed into this idea that you have to go spend 3 years of your life doing nothing but the study of law. But that was the exception.
Yeah, how did that happen? Why did that change?
I don't know. I really think it has something to do with the foxes guarding the hen house, where it's like, oh, yes, we need to set standards for legal education. And then they, because that is what happens, is that the regulated class becomes the regulators. And so I think that's what's going on now. I mean, it's the American Bar Association, which is wildly mobbed up with all of the law schools. And it's just like the bar, where the bar is like, okay, well, what is that actually? It's a guild of lawyers trying to keep other people from declaring themselves to be lawyers. So we're going to make all these regulations and we're going to make it harder to become a lawyer. This is all just part of that. And there's nothing wrong with being older, going to law school. If anything, it gives you an advantage, not a disadvantage. Admissions folk love older folks who have had jobs before. The schools in the very top, Harvard especially, has emphasized that they like work experience in admissions in recent years. Now, they still admit plenty of K through JDs because it's a huge school and they just have to have 500 new students every single year. But they're starting to prefer people who have gone out in the real world and know what it's like to actually have a job. So yeah, just stop. I would just say stop even saying the phrase non-traditional. You're a little older. So what?
Think of it as a superpower. I'm sure when I started studying for the LSAT at age 30 or whatever, I was way better than I would have been at age 19. That's not because I was studying the LSAT for those 11 years. It was just because I was reading more and getting experience and just more life makes you better at the LSAT.
Yeah, to the extent that you do start to slow down and suffer some cognitive decline, relatively early in your life. I think your brain has a way of starting to decline, but your wisdom is only on the increase. And the more you've read, the better you're going to be at the LSAT. Like my vocabulary is wildly better now than it was when I took the LSAT in 2007. I've read so much since then, and I've learned a lot. I'm better. It's easier for me to comprehend the passages because I've read so much other shit, including all 400 of the reading comprehension passages that we have to practice with. You just learn more about the things that they like to talk about. You also learn more about the ways that they like to talk about those things. You're going to recognize stuff, not just on the LSAT, but in law school. You're going to recognize stuff where you're going to be like, oh, yeah. Oh, a mortgage? I've had one of those. And, meanwhile, all the K through JDs are like, huh? Escrow? What's that? And like older folks naturally have some experience.
Isn't that snails what they eat?
Yeah, ew. Yeah. Wait, maybe with some butter.
Garlic.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, none of this was Beck's question. Beck asks, depending on how LSAC factors in the college courses that I took in high school, my UGPA should be around 3.7. Do I need to factor my master's into all of this or strictly undergrad only? So easy answer there. It's only your undergrad.
Only your undergrad. And if you have not yet uploaded your transcripts to LSAC, you might want to look at those college courses that you took in high school, and if they're not A pluses, you might want to think about whether they're worth keeping on your, you might be able to figure out some way to finagle it so that those classes aren't going to count against you. If they happen to be bad grades, you can sometimes get I think you have to go to the school that you got those grades from, whatever community college or whatever.
Hmm.
And we've had stories, lots. We get those emails now, right? The more we
Oh
talk
yeah.
about it, I bet the more emails we get about it. But you could potentially call them up and say, when I was a 16-year-old taking this class in whatever it was, I had no idea that I was ever going to apply to law school. And right now, this is one of the only, it's the only C that I have on my entire academic record. I went to college and I totally killed it. And I just want to know if there's a way that you can change this to a pass. That's all I want, is to just change this grade to a pass, because then LSAC ignores it. I'm not saying you should do this, Beck. I'm just saying you should consider doing this. But yeah, your master's just literally doesn't count. I think you still have to upload the transcript, but that's not going to count in the calculations.
Second question, one that actually you already kind of started to answer and had definitely addressed in the past. Do either of you have general thoughts or opinions on part-time, hybrid, or fully online law schools? Currently working full-time and have 10 years of experience in my field. I'm not sure I want to completely check out for 3 years, but I am open to the possibility.
I would totally go part-time. I mean, if you like your job, you're making a good living, you've got benefits, absolutely go part-time or hybrid or fully online. And it depends on what your career aspirations are. Some stodgy old firms might not be hiring from certain newfangled law programs, but those old people are going to die out. I mean, that's just not going to last. I'm sorry. That is not going to
No, I
last.
don't see how it can.
Seeing down the road a ways, the old people forcing people to come into the office, or old people thinking that you can't have education online. Bullshit. I've been teaching exclusively on Zoom now since 2020. I'm here to tell you, as an educator, I think it's better online than it was in person. For a lot of reasons, I think it's better online. And uh, I'm biased in saying that, but I'm not even that young, right? I'm pushing 50, and there's going to be a transition where the younger folk are going to catch on and realize that this is face to face. I'm talking to Eric right now, face to face. We're hundreds of miles away from each other, but we're face to face. We're having a real conversation here. And if you think that that's not like a productive, real conversation, you're going the way of the dodo.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna.
And it's definitely more accessible too, right? Like it's just way
so
more
much
accessible.
Are you kidding me? Like, I got a buddy who works for ABC television down in LA, and it's hilarious because he's part of the digital team supporting their TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
And, Bob Iger came back and forced them all to come back into the office. So now all these people on the digital team who did their entire jobs all through COVID with no problems whatsoever. In fact, the higher ups were able to cut a bunch of costs and cut a bunch of staff. And it's like they're doing their job cheaper and better than they ever were before. And then it's like, the hilarious thing was they had a hybrid Zoom meeting, and the people in the office were having a hard time with their expensive in-person that's casting to the big screen, and they've got the speakers thing in the middle of the table and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But those old folks are not able to hang in there in the meeting. And so their solution is now everyone has to come in all the time. So now you've got all these young creative people commuting an hour each way every day across Los Angeles, just so that this one old fucker can feel more comfortable in a meeting. There's another solution to the problem, which is you get rid of the old fucker and then you just have all your meetings online. Because in Zoom, everyone has a front row seat.
It proves to you that it's not really about productivity or trying to make the product better.
0%. And then, I was trying to tell, I was speaking of golf, sorry, we just did another episode where we were talking about golf, but I was hanging out with a couple of my old man friends yesterday. We went out and hit some putts at the local course here in Santa Barbara where they live. And I was trying to explain to them this basically this same thing of like, surely going into the office or mandatory going into the office is just not going to work with smart, creative, tech savvy young folks. And then they went right into it was like just right into their talking point about, but don't we need the accidental, like, just conversations in the hallway? And I just think that there's just certain things that really need to be done face to face.
I've been in an office. I've had those accidental conversations in the hallway. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, they did not make my work better, and they did not make me more productive. They
Well,
were
and they
like, "Oh,
certainly.
let's go get a snack. Let's go get
Oh God,
yeah."
right. And the cubicle decorating contest and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's great for morale. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Everybody go meet in the conference room so that we can have our monthly meeting and sing happy birthday to all the May birthdays or whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck off. Let's do work. I thought we were supposed to be doing work. And yeah, save everybody the commute. People don't even have to take a shower. They don't have to put on pajamas, get online, do your shit. There's no reason. Of all the things that don't need to be in person, law school really, really doesn't need to be in person.
Especially because almost all your time is just in the books, right?
Well, yes, you're going to have 14 hours a week of class. All the other time is going to be you just reading,
Yeah.
solitary just reading. You could do that on campus, or you could do it literally anywhere else. The classes themselves are going to be primarily the professor talking. If the professor puts someone on call, which they often do, there's no reason why you can't call on them on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
When you do, the student's face will pop up on the screen for all the attendees instead of 100 attendees craning their neck to try to
Mm-hmm.
see the person who's 5 rows behind them and all the way across the room. It's just so stupid. I mean, like, professors have seating charts so that they can know where everybody's sitting so that they can not learn people's names. On Zoom, everybody just automatically has their screen name right there associated with their picture.
Mm-hmm.
On Zoom, you have the chat so that people can share resources or ask questions on the side. And, in class, you've got the people holding their hand up, like, please call on me. Oh, switching arms. Okay, still want you to call on me. In Zoom, you just click the raise hand feature. It's right there. There's 1,000 reasons why education, like, I get it. I get it. Your third grader didn't do well in Zoom school during COVID. Not arguing with you.
Mm-hmm.
Law students are not third graders. They're adult professional people. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how long it will take for this to catch on, but I will wager everything that it eventually will catch on.
Yeah. I can't see how it wouldn't. The one thing we should add here is be aware that some of these part-time hybrid programs might not have the same scholarship opportunities. So
Sure.
just watch out for that.
And it should all be on their ABA 509 report. They should break down whether they give scholarships to full-time or part-time or both. Apply broadly, whatever you do. Apply to lots of these programs and then just see what kinds of offers you get back. But yeah, I would not be discriminating against any kinds of part-time programs, especially if you have a successful career that you're happy in. Don't let that go.
Yeah. All right, third question. Now that I've had practice with logic game setups, it seems much more intuitive, and I can't wait to take my next practice test. I love that.
Cool.
My cold diagnostic was a 151. Awesome. So I'm confident that with study, I can bring it up relatively easily and quickly. Is there a general range I should shoot for or average a certain amount of practice tests to estimate my personal ceiling?
I don't know. I agree with you that at a 151, that's a great place to start. It means that you're able to comprehend what you're reading. You probably attempted too many questions. You probably made too many casual mistakes. If you just slow down a little bit and clean up the casual misreadings, I think that you could get to 160, potentially like within a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
How long it's going to take you to get to 165 and 170 and 175, I have no idea. Sometimes it takes people weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years. I really wouldn't even take a crack at that.
Yeah. I would just say don't put a ceiling on how high you
For
can
sure.
score.
Like, I hate it
Yeah.
when people are like, "Oh yeah, so 167 is my target score." What? Why? Why not just as high as you can go? I mean,
Yeah.
don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, Beck, for a general range to shoot for at a 151 diagnostic, no reason you can't score in the 170s.
Yep.
There you go. All right, finally, is it worth potentially taking some law courses at my local community college after the LSAT/application process is completed, but before I actually start? So, what, like constructing a 0L from community college?
Hmm.
I do continuing ed every year as part of my license and certification requirements, but it is different from sitting in a class, revamping study habits, etc. The tuition is ridiculously cheap, and money and time won't be an issue. I work in education and would have time to play around with community college classes, I guess community college law classes. In this situation, could being pre-exposed to some of the material be a bonus for my first year, or is it just a waste of time?
I'd say it's probably a waste of time. They're not gonna they're not gonna teach those community college law classes anything like, I mean, even if they superficially make it look like law school, it's just not gonna have anything to do with law school. You're gonna be there with 17-year-olds who are like basically high school students. Law school, you're gonna be sitting there with people who are not just college graduates, but like the cream of the crop college graduates. The readings are going to be far more intense in law school. The actual kinds of lectures, I just don't see it really being real.
Yeah.
Even if it's like taught by someone who also teaches at the local law school, I still just don't see it being. It's just I can't see how it's going
Yeah.
to be the same.
I'm a big fan of learning for its own sake. And
Sure.
if the classes there sound interesting to you and aren't going to compete with other stuff going on in your life, go for it. I am currently taking 12 credits at a local community college on top of all of the other stuff I do, teaching, working on the podcasts, just because I was interested in learning some math and science. And that's interesting to me. I will say, I don't think it's revamping my study habits. Like they tell you, oh, for this chemistry class, you're going to need to do 20 hours a week. And like, I pick one night out of the week to spend a few hours and do all
your
of my
20
work.
hours.
Yeah, exactly. I suspect that much will be the same for any kind of law related classes.
Well,
So,
you're wildly overpowered intellectually, I'm sure. Not to shit on your colleagues at your community college, but you're at a different level of cognitive ability.
well, I've been through school before. I think that's the main thing. Is I've actually done school before.
Yeah.
And there's a range of ability levels and preparedness for school. Some very smart people I'm with, some others who seem like, yeah, it's going to be a struggle for them.
Yeah, I think you've
But
got discipline as evidenced by already made it through college once. You've got life experience, you've got the increased wisdom, more reading under your belt, like you're better at English. You're just gonna
sure.
be overpowered as a older student.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go do this back for uh,
Not as prep for law school. I don't think it's going to prepare you for
no.
law school. If the classes sound interesting to you,
Yeah,
sure. But it's not, I don't think it's going to prepare you for law school.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I would also say if you have so much extra time, think about maybe like getting some kind of a job or
Yeah.
internship in law, because you haven't said anything about why you think law is a good path for you. And if, like, do you know any lawyers? Do you have any idea what you're getting yourself into? And a job in a law firm might open your eyes to what you're actually getting yourself into. So I might start there instead.
Agreed. Thanks, Beck. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.